Joe here, and today's video is probably not the one that you were expecting, although I don't like to upload part 1, part 2, part 3, day. Hey guys, Joe here, and today's upload is not the update that I was planning on, which is okay because I actually wanted to do more during the update, but it is a video that I thought I should put out there because it shows what I go through when I try to fix something and when I'm guessing what the problem is and attempting repairs based on those guesses. When you first start out trying to fix something, you're not always going to guess it. You're sometimes going to do a lot of parts changing and this and that and all the other things that come along with it, and it's compounded by the fact that my system is a custom water loop with hard line tubing. Now if it was just the CPU like it used to be and the graphics cards, which were the issues in this video, were just air cooled, it would have been a lot easier to work around. But being a custom system, you'll see that from the beginning of the video that you're going to see to the end, the configuration on this thing changes 3 times into its final form, which, spoiler, does work now. But it was a pain in the ass, took me a long time, and I figured I'd film it while I was doing it, and I'm kind of glad I did because it allowed me to make a video showing that, yeah, I'm not perfect. Nobody is, no such thing. So without further ado, let's get to it. Now it's time to drain the system. Now, when I built it, I put a drop tube here, mainly because I just wasn't thinking I should have actually made it go up and over. But it actually functions as a pretty good drain, and you'll see that in action here. But also, I intend to put the monoblock back on here. Although I really think I'm gonna paint it black before I do that. Or not, we'll see what happens. So, there we go. I'm gonna move you a little bit so that you get a better angle of the dangle. Basically, all I have to do is angle this 90-degree fitting over the open edge of my desk. Grab a couple of grab jars, catch jars, my wonderfully soaked towel that I've used like 6 times. Get this wiring out of the way. Again, here's a little bit of a tip. Don't open up the top here until you have your catch in the position. It will allow the fluid to come out slowlier. And yes, that's the word I've decided to use here. See, you now have controllable flow. I just realized I have no thermal paste. I like Kool-Aid. I've decided I'm not going to disassemble the whole system because I don't have enough parts to change everything over now anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the radiators and the pump, and I'm going to take the graphics cards out. So, in order to not have to worry about leakage, let's go ahead and just move this up this way. So that's turned up. That's tightened up. So now that I've done that, next thing to do is to take off the tubing for the graphics cards, pull the graphics cards off, and see why this graphics card is acting up. I'm also going to reverse the order if I can't figure it out so that the primary card is the one that's still functioning correctly. So, yep. Alright, now that she's pretty much done draining, one of the positives to having your graphics cards connected by a tube is you can take them off as one unit. So what we do now is grab our trusty dusty screwdriver, wherever the hell we put that, and get to done screwing them. My favorite screwdriver, old wooden one that I picked up at a flea market for nothing. You're gonna have a little bit of residual leaking, so have paper towels ready. I don't like the taste of coolant. I'm sorry, I was just looking at it to see if I could see where the damaged audio chip was, and I found it, so now I'm going to take a picture of it. Okay, so you've drained the fluid out of your system, so move the fluid out of the way to make sure you don't accidentally spill it all and create a ginormous mess and not have any coolant. And since I'm not going to take the motherboard off yet, I'm going to go ahead and keep at least one tube on there. Jam a little bit of paper towel in the one open port, and we're done with the computer for right now, so we're going to shove this back. Next, we're going to take the cards, separate them, set one down here on the table, and I guess we'll just keep going and see what happens.
I'm falling for nobody else but you. I'm flying high, but I'm...
So there's the card out. Next thing to do is take the back plate off. I want to see if there's any moisture or any damage to anything on the back, and then we're going to go from there. So actually, let's pull all the fittings off first. All the screws are loose for the back plate. I don't like that. But I'm just going to go ahead and disassemble this thing, and I'll be back to you. Because it's probably going to take me about 10 minutes because I don't know what I'm doing because I've never taken one of these apart. So no need to sit and watch me do that. I'll be back. So somebody obviously reapplied the thermal compound on their own. That could potentially be part of the issue. It's also very dry. However, it wasn't having any overheating problems, but it was having the not quite right running problems. So next thing to do is replace all of that. All the RAM chips look okay. Check that. No, they don't. I think that's just thermal compound. But I'm going to clean off all the RAM chips and kind of dust down the board, and then I guess we'll reassemble it and see what the hell happens. Yeah, not 100% sure what's going on, but I'll figure it out. I'll be back after I reassemble it. So Jay from Jay's 2 cents just did a video on why custom loops suck, because he was talking about how when he did his monoblock, he put the thermal pad in the wrong place. While I agree with him to a point, I do like the challenge. Now, I was going to rebend this tube, but I decided not to today, and I was going to put in a drain, but I realized I'm out of male-to-male adapters. So that's fun. Have to figure that out in a couple of days. And now it's just time for the refill. So now that I've gone through, tightened down all the fittings, always double check all your fittings, because when you're moving this pipe around a little bit, you can actually loosen the fitting down here, you can loosen the fitting here, you know, you can loosen fittings up here. Well, I redid these links because they were too long and they were forcing the cards apart, and that could have been part of my problem as well. But right now I have it hooked up to an external power supply. And when you buy a lot of power supplies now, they come with this jumper adapter. All it is just jumpering 2 pins to start the power supply, and we'll go ahead and do this. And watch how much head pressure the Enermax pump actually has. Say what you want. It's pretty damn fast. So let's go ahead and finish filling. Got good news and I got the weather. Actually, I don't have either of those. Bad news. It's not the card. I'm pretty sure it's the board where that one chip burned out. It may have burned out. Something to do with the PCIe lane. I'm going to try one more thing, and it may even fry the board, but we'll see what happens. On the Rampage 3 boards, it has a extra PCIe, or excuse me, Molex connector to add more power to the PCIe lane. And I think what's happening is maybe the power delivery for the PCIe lane is bad, because at everything stock, it crashes the system immediately. I have to undervolt everything to get the top card to work at anything approaching like 800 or 900 megahertz, which is 75% of its actual capabilities. And switching the cards did nothing, because now the one that I thought was having the problem is running full bore. In fact, it's actually running faster than it was. So next I'm going to attach an extra Molex connector to it, and well, I'll turn it on live and see if it explodes my gosh damn computer. Okay, to quote Samuel L. Jackson, hold on to your butts. X58 takes a while to boot, man. X99 takes a long time for its first boot, but Jesus Louises, man. These things sometimes, everything is bone stock on the card. Power limit's at 100%, temperature limit. Let's see what happens if I try to run Heaven. I'm running Heaven because Heaven doesn't discriminate. Oh, that ain't good. That ain't good.
I used to. I used to. I used to. I used to.
Okay, well the good news is now the card's running at full power. Bad news is I do think this PCIe lane is screwed. Which sucks because that means I'm going to have to redo... Well, I'm going to have to drain the system to move everything down to a lower PCIe lane. Maybe. Let's see what happens if I let it have more core voltage. Nope. That ain't it. Next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to shut off 2 of the PCIe lanes, which I can do on this motherboard. Let me show you how. You know, I'll actually put a picture here of the toggle switches, and you can actually on this motherboard disable individual PCIe lanes. So let's see if that does anything. But at least I can put full power to the card now, but I'm going to have to redo 2 tubes. Although the extra clearance means I may be able to run a sound card again. Yeah, I think we're going to wind up having to drain my system and change a couple of pipes. Sucks, but you know, what can you do? Okay. Looks like I got to drain the system again and redo 1 tube. Technically 2, but all I got to do is shorten the bottom one. Frick. Something weird is going on. This is working fine. Okay, I'm gonna try a couple other games here because it may just be a bad install of Heaven. See what happens when we run like a 3D Mark. Now we're gonna try Fire Strike. See what happens. Either it works or it don't. This is weird. I don't know what's going on and it's kind of freaking me out. So apparently under testing conditions, it's going ape. So before I go through all the trouble of disassembling the system again, I'm going to go ahead and actually uninstall the drivers because I'm having a problem with the NVIDIA driver panel actually only showing 2 things now that I have SLI working again. I'm going to use DDU, destroy what's on there right now, and restart and reload the drivers. So it's going to take a few minutes, so we'll be back in a few minutes. Can you say a few minutes again? Now that I've restarted the computer, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall GeForce, reinstall the drivers, and try again, because if it does the exact same thing this time, I am going to have to disassemble this system and move the cards down, and that's gonna piss me right the frack off. So I'll be back once I have it installed. We'll test it together without cutting. Not sure if it's good news yet, but at least I have my full NVIDIA panel again. It's already set for SLI, so yeah. Let's go ahead and try it, huh? I'm just gonna set everything to bone stock, no extra power, no nothing. Nope. Same exact problemos. To say I'm mildly frustrated is an understatement. So, power down, drain it, make new tubes, cry. I really wanted to work on my custom system today, but this custom system's being a pain in my custom ass. So it's 8:42 p.m. and I just got home from eating dinner with my fams, and I finally have the computer up and running again. Now, as you can see from looking at the way it's put together, I wound up having to basically remove the 3 card spacing and go to just a single spacing between each card. It was a little more difficult because I don't have just like a proper link, I guess it's called, for the graphics card, so I wound up using a very short piece of tube and a couple of compression fittings, but it seems to be working now. But let me show you what it's doing now. And this actually wound up being one of the like last ditch efforts I could make to get the system to work right, because slot 1 obviously has the problem because of the damage to the board, probably a bad trace now. Slot 2 worked fine, which is good. Slot 3 I always knew worked because the other card was always reading fine, but slot 4 doesn't seem to work at all. So again, I'm not sure if there's an issue with the board from the bad overclock that stopped my 770s, you know, up there, or what, but eventually I figured out that if I just run both cards basically right next to each other, which is fine to do because they're water cooled, they don't need the fan, will allow them to work fine. It just doesn't look right, not in my opinion. So it would probably look better like in the NZXT case that I'm customizing because everything is more compact and together. But on this open air platform like this, it looks bizarre to have them just squished together. So yeah, but that's the way this system's going to remain until I get a different computer set up, because I don't have another X58 motherboard and I don't have one that can handle the damage I've done to it the way this one has. But let me just show you that it works. So we'll go ahead and load up Heaven Benchmark. And with both cards fully functioning, it's running fine. I think the air bubble finally got out of the top card because it's finally come down in temperature. The bottom card still is a little bit warmer, but it's always been that way. And other than that, I'm happy. But now at least I have fully functioning cards again, and I'm getting the FPS that I should, which is in the 200s, 150 to 200 versus 110 to 130 when it was all goofed up before. So I'm very happy that I was able to find a configuration that still works, and actually because the cards are right next to each other, I actually can use my MSI bridge as well, so it'll add a little bit more black and red to the build, which I will do after I'm done with the video here. When I only had the i7-930 in there, which was the processor I originally got with it, I overclocked it to 4.33 gigahertz, which was too much. And for some reason, I think it overvolted, even though this chip runs at a higher voltage. I think that chip was calling for more voltage, or the motherboard threw too much voltage at it and fried my audio chip, because that no longer works, and damaged the PCIe slot to where it's not providing full power anymore on its own. And when I added a supplementary power using the Molex adapter, it allowed the processor, or excuse me, the GPU to function at full speed, but it was artifacting. So then I had to come up with a new solution, and with a damaged motherboard, I'm still getting a 1041 Cinebench, I'm still getting full functionality out of my graphics cards, and the loop runs at a good temperature. Now I have to do some wiring rejiggering because I have it all goofed up here. But when it's all said and done, I'll be back up and running. A little worse for wear, but not by much. If you take anything away from this video, it's that diagnosing a problem with the PC may not be simple. It may be a long, drawn-out process that makes you have to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And yes, having a full custom loop complicated the issue, but I did manage to figure it out. And you have to start with the basics. When my graphics card wasn't running at full speed, I assumed that it was a power delivery problem, so I changed the way everything was hooked up. That didn't do it. Then I was thinking maybe it wasn't getting enough power, so then I tried something else, which led to the next diagnosis, which then led to further figuring out the problem. This isn't a television show. It's not where you can just go epiphany and have all the answers. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, you have to put in the work. But when you do, you can figure out almost anything. Unless you physically and totally kill the component, you will almost always be able to figure a way out of it. So yeah, a little bit of a detour from the custom case mod, but I wanted to show that even when you screw up, you can fix it. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, go ahead and subscribe over here. you can click over here somewhere and you'll be able to see another video on something. And as always, I'll talk to you later.
Falling for nobody else.